This is a Veterans History Project Oral History with Mr. William C. Doyle. Today is Saturday, April 5th, 2008. Bill, would you please state your full name, date of birth, and place of birth?
My name is William Charles Doyle. I was born in Baltimore City on October the 31st, 1914.
And that makes you how old today?
I am 93 years old, plus 5 months.
Congratulations. And where were you raised?
For the first 12 years of my life, I lived in Baltimore City. And then my parents moved to Halethorpe in Baltimore County. And I spent the rest of my adult life in that neighborhood.
And you could spell Halethorpe for me again?
Halethorpe.
Great. And you were saying that you went to high school. Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school at Mount St. Joseph's High School in Baltimore City.
And what happened during high school?
Well, I went there in rough times. And in the early 30s, and my parents had a hard time. You know, they had 6 kids, and so I had a job working in the AMP store. So I just went to work, quit school, and went to work there. And then after the war, I went back to Mount St. Joe and got my diploma. Yeah.
What year it looked like was 1946 that you got your diploma?
And it was the class of January 1946, yes.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's really nice. So you went back and were able to get your diploma.
Well, those brothers were good to me. They really were. They're a good bunch of teachers. That's all. And the Severian brothers taught there.
Did they?
And they still teach there.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yes.
My son went to school there. Went to high school there. And if my grandson was here, had been here, he would have gone too. But my grandson went to a Navy school in Spain.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
While my son was stationed there. Yeah.
You were working then at the A&P?
Yes.
And what kind of work were you doing?
Just clerk. I was a clerk, that's all. Just waiting on customers. It was a lot different then than it is now. You did not go through the store and pick out things that you wanted like you do now. You just told the clerk what you wanted, and he would go and get it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you were at the A&P and you were spending some years there, how long did you work there? Do you remember?
Oh, not very long.
No.
Because in 1935, I went to work for the Maryland Distilling Company.
Mm-hmm.
And about a year later, it became the Calvert Distilling Company. And then sometime after that, the Joseph E. Seagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there for 42 years.
That would have been after the war? You came back and worked?
After the war, I went back there and worked, and I retired in 1977.
What kind of work did you do during your career, Bill?
I worked in the chemistry lab.
Mm-hmm. What did that entail?
Before the war.
Mm-hmm.
And after the war, I had a job in the still house running stills and other operations in the still house there. Yeah.
Good work. It sounded like a good company to work for, too.
Seagram was a good company to work for. Joseph E. Seagram. Some people named Bronfman owned the Seagrams at that time, and they were good people to work for. They were, yeah.
Where was that located, the Seagram's distillery?
In Relay, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Not too far from where we are now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Not too far.
Now so you're born in 1914. You're raised. Where are you in the birth order of your family?
Number 3.
Number 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 3. I had 2 sisters after me,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 brothers after them, and I lost one of the brothers as an infant. He died very, very young. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you spent pretty much all of your youth and in your in the Halethorpe, and as an adult too in Halethorpe? You lived there?
Well, after I was married, I moved to Relay,
Mm-hmm.
which is about a mile and a half away from Halethorpe. And I lived there for about a year and a half, sold my home there and moved to Elk Ridge, which is 2 more miles further west. And I lived in Elk Ridge for 17 years. And the state built I-95 coming through there after I was there 17 years, and they took my property for the road, for I-95. And so I had to move again. I moved to Ellicott City then, and I stayed in Ellicott City with my family for 37 years there.
Now, Bill, tell me where were you as we neared the World War II in the 1930s? Where were you working? You were working for the distillery at that point?
I was working for Seagram. No, I was working for the Calvert Distilling Company then.
Calvert Distilling Company?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you were working in the chemistry lab?
I was working in the chemistry lab doing analysis on whiskey, grain, coal, anything that came along.
And that would have put you about 24 years old or so, 24, 25, do you think? The late 1930s?
When I left there to go into the service, I was 27 years old.
You were 27.
Yeah, I was 27.
How did you come to go into the service? How did that all come about?
Well, it was time during the draft. I got my letter from the government saying that I was going to be drafted, and they gave me a date to report to the draft board, and I did. On April the 24th, in 1941, I went to Catonsville, and that's where we all met. And from Catonsville, we got on a streetcar and went to the 5th Regiment Armory. And that's where we took all of our physical exams. And they told us where we were going, sent me to Fort Meade on that day. Mm-hmm. And I spent about 2 weeks in the reception center at Fort Meade before I was assigned to C Company, 175th Infantry.
And then assigned. Did you have any idea when you were drafted that you would be placed into the 175th Infantry?
No, had no idea where I was going or what I was going to do. No.
Had you thought at all about enlisting prior to being drafted?
No. No, I had not, because my wife and I, we were planning on being married, and joining the Army didn't enter my mind at all until the draft came along, and then I knew I was going to have to go. But on April the 24th, 1941, I was drafted into the service. Yeah.
Now, and you were assigned then, was it at Fort Meade that you learned you were assigned to the C
That's
Company?
where I went, Fort George G. Meade, yes. And,
C Company, 175th Infantry. At that point, was it called the 29th Infantry Division? Or was
yes, it was the 29th. At that time, the 29th Division was what they called a square division.
Okay.
There were four infantry regiments, and I don't know how many artillery and other things, but it was a square division at the time. Maybe 6 or 8 months later, they did away with the square divisions and they all became triangular divisions. Just three regiments, and each regiment had their own artillery regiment, and each regiment could act on their own. Yeah.
And when you went to Fort Meade, were you there with the other infantry regiments that made up the 29th?
Yes.
They were all there as well?
The 116th was there, and the 115th, the 110th Field Artillery, everything was there, yes.
Everything was there. And at that time, were they all coming together? Were they all new draftees that were coming in, do you know?
Most were, because in the 29th Division and the 175th Infantry and the 116th and 115th were National Guard units. And so they were not up to strength. And they did get up to strength when I was inducted into the service, yes. We all went in there and filled the regiments up to their full strength. Yeah.
Were some of the guys they were already National Guard members who were in?
They made up the cadre, yes. Yes, they did. And I can't tell you how many National Guardsmen were there, but not very many. Not many.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like I said, it was just a cadre, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there were enough men to get the regiment started, yeah.
Now, and you were at Fort Meade for a couple of weeks in 1941, do you remember?
Well, when I was drafted
Mm-hmm.
at the reception center
Mm-hmm.
for 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and I just laid around there, didn't do KP duty once
Uh-huh.
while I was there.
What's your rank, by the way, when you drafted? What was your rank when you came in?
Oh, private.
You're a private at this
There's a
point.
private, yes.
Mhm.
And, but then after 2 weeks, we were sent to the 175th Infantry, like I said, C Company.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my basic training there at Fort Meade for 3 months.
That was pretty convenient, wasn't it, for being a Baltimore guy
Yes,
living
it
in
was,
Fort Meade?
because I was only about 6 or 7 miles away from home, and I had my car there, and so I could go home anytime that I got a pass. I could go home, you know.
They let you keep your car
Oh yes,
on the base.
they were very strict about it. You had to have insurance on your car. If they park your car on the base, your car had to be insured, just like it is now, you know. Like, but yes, I did keep my car on a base, and right near not too far away from my barracks, to tell you the truth, where I lived.
What were your days like at Fort Meade when you were going through basic training? Describe what it's like, basic training.
Well, it was kind of hard work, doing close order drill mostly, digging trenches, slit trenches, you know, and drilling, going on little maneuvers, things like that. Infantry training mostly for me was just close order drill and on the firing range, firing your rifle, you know. And I was in a machine gun squad. Taught me how to dig a trench for the machine gun, you know, to have a foxhole. But it was a little complicated, you know, to have this machine gun in there.
How do you? Why were you assigned to a machine gun squad? It just happened that way.
This happened when I went in there. Most of the people went into a rifle platoons, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they happened to put me in a weapons platoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in a machine gun squad, a light machine gun, 30 caliber.
Mm-hmm.
And
What kind of work? What was your responsibility when you were first training with that machine gun squad? What did you have to do?
keep it clean.
Keep it clean.
That was all. Yes.
You had to learn how to do that.
That their responsibilities were to keep yourself clean, yourself and your equipment. That was it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What's it like to learn how to dig a foxhole? What's that feel like? Is it hard?
not at Fort Meade. In Fort Meade, it was sand. You know. Yeah, it was sandy soil at Fort Meade. No, it wasn't hard at all. And,
Uh-huh.
but it was a little different when we got over to France. The soil
Mhm.
was hard. It's as hard as a rock, you know, in the summertime, and you had to really pick at it and dig at it to dig your slit trench.
When you were digging, and what is a slit trench? Describe what that means.
I suppose you would lay on the ground prone, your head, your feet. You start at your head and dig down to your feet. Dig enough so that you could get below ground level. That's your slit trench. Yeah. And that was your protection. That if somebody was shooting across the field, they wouldn't hit you if you were in your slit trench, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the main reason for digging a slit trench, for your safety. Yeah.
there. When you're in basic training as well, did you learn how to shoot a weapon besides
Yes.
the machine gun?
Oh yes, I learned to shoot my rifle
Okay.
first.
What kind of rifle did you have?
At that time, I had a Springfield '06, and
What do they like to
03,
shoot?
not an '06, '03.
A 1903 Springfield
Yeah,
rifle?
yeah.
What do they like to shoot? Are they?
Bolt action. But
They're bolt action?
bolt
And
action.
describe how that works.
Bolt up,
Mhm.
back, put the shell in, forward and down, and you're ready. It's called ready to go.
One bullet at a time?
No, well, the rifle, then you could, let me see, I think you put 5 or 6 shells in there at one time. You had a clip that you could put down.
Okay.
And each time you pulled the bolt back, the empty shell would come out. You push it up, and your gun is loaded again. Yeah. And it's not a gun, it's your piece.
It's your piece, huh?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It becomes your friend, your best buddy there, doesn't it?
It's
Carrying your
supposed to
weapon,
be,
or
but
your,
yes.
your piece.
Mhm, right.
And you started with a 1903 Springfield rifle.
Right.
Then what? What other kind of weapon did you wind up with?
But then everyone was issued a Springfield, but I had the light machine gun too
Mhm.
that I fired, and I had to fire that on the range.
Mm-hmm.
Not very often, we didn't, but I remember going to the rifle range many times to fire it. Down at Fort Meade, they had a real good rifle range down there, and we would fire at I guess maybe 100 yards. I don't know the exact distance, but it must have been 100 yards anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
I qualified all right off the bat. I had no problems at all firing a rifle because I'd been firing one ever since I was a kid, going hunting and everything.
Did you really?
Sure.
You had been a hunter?
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with the rifle at all. But,
And the light machine gun, does it take more than one person to carry a light machine gun?
yes.
How many?
Yeah, I think there were 4 of us in the squad. Yeah. There was one person would carry the gun itself,
Mm-hmm.
another tripod,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had ammunition carriers too. You see.
Is the light machine gun the same as a water-cooled machine gun?
No,
Mm-mm.
it's the light machine gun is air cooled.
Air-cooled.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And why would you be issued a water-cooled machine gun instead of a light machine gun? Do you know? Do you remember?
Well, the heavy machine guns, they were the water cooled guns. The heavy 30 caliber machine guns. They had a each battalion had a weapons company, and the weapons company was made up of heavy mortars and heavy machine guns, the water-cooled machine guns. And now, they were assigned wherever they were needed. The heavy guns were. If one of the rifle companies needed a couple of guns, they were sent there, you know.
I see.
Yeah. But mostly the rifle companies did what they're made out with their light machine guns. Each company had two light machine guns.
Okay. How many men are in a company, Bill? Do you know? Do you remember?
About close to 200.
200.
Yeah, about 200 men.
So you were in C Company. Were you always assigned to this specific platoon within C Company?
I was in the 4th platoon. That was the weapons platoon
Okay.
until I finished my basic training. Sometime after I finished my basic training, I was made a corporal. And then I had the squad. The machine gun squad was mine then. And I did that for maybe 3 or 4 months. And for some reason or another, they promoted me to sergeant. I got my 3rd stripe. And the platoon sergeant of the 3rd platoon, Sergeant Manley, he was made 1st sergeant and sent over to B Company.
Mm-hmm.
And they made me the platoon sergeant.
About what time of year was that?
that was around December, or sometime in December. I remember we were on the first Carolina maneuvers at the time.
1941?
Yeah, in 1941. Yes.
Okay.
Because I remember coming home from the maneuvers. We were bivouacked on a little airstrip in New Boston, Virginia. And that was December the 7th, 1941. And our company commander came to us sometime that day and said, "Boys, you're not going home in a year now. The Japs had just bombed Pearl Harbor, and we are at war." So
That's pretty striking. And when we go back to Fort Meade in the early months, let's see, April, May, June, you're probably there in the summer of 1941 with your basic training, finishing that
that's
up?
right, yeah. Mhm.
What happened at the end of basic training? Where did you wind up going then?
Well, while we were doing our basic training,
Mhm.
we were in C Company, 175th Infantry. And we just took our basic training with them. The fellows who had been the cadre, the National Guardsmen, gave us our basic training.
Did they really? Okay.
Yes, and we were in C Company. That's all there was to it all the time. From the time that I left the reception center at Fort Meade, I was in C Company until I got out of the service.
Always with C.
Well, but then for a long time I was attached to another outfit, but I was still on C Company, 175th Infantry. Yeah.
Where did you go after your basic training at Fort Meade? What happened next?
We just kept training, doing the same old thing that we were doing during basic training.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember on our way, after we got home from the first Carolina maneuvers, and that was in December, I applied for a furlough, 10-day furlough, and I was granted a furlough. And I was married in January of 1942.
Excellent.
And went up to New York City on our honeymoon, had a wonderful time up there. Everybody, they were treating soldiers real good then.
I'll bet they were.
I stayed in the Pennsylvania Hotel up there, and Charlie Spivak was there.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good orchestra too. The first 3 days I was there, he left and Glenn Miller came.
Well, you picked the right time,
Yeah,
huh?
I did. And I remember we wanted to dance to Glenn Miller's music, you know. And I went down there. It was right in the hotel. And I went down to where the ballroom was, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember this lady saying, "Go over there and sit down for a while and I'll give you a call." And I saw them wheeling this table in right up against the bandstand. And that's where they seated my wife and me. We really had it made. And we did that. I went to the Metro. I always wanted to go to the Metropolitan Opera in New York. So here I'm just a kid out of Halethorpe. Never been out of Halethorpe before in my life. So we go to the Metropolitan Opera, the ticket office, and I bought a ticket. I didn't know what I was buying, to tell you the truth. I wanted to get a good seat in the orchestra. And the fella gave me a ticket, and it was standing room only. I had to stand in the back. You know, and another thing happened. Some lady came walking up the aisle, and why she picked me out, I don't know. She said, "Would you like to have my tickets? I've been invited to a box upstairs with some friends." And I said, "Sure." They were the best tickets and the best seats in the house. You know, these box seats on the side.
Yeah.
That's where it was, right up front. And I remember that some of the best things happened to me that on our honeymoon like that. We really had a ball. And
That's great.
yeah.
Now you're and then after your honeymoon you were back to Fort Meade?
I went back to Fort Meade, and the regiment wasn't there anymore. They
Okay.
were all doing guard duty, maybe up and down the coast, different places over in Washington. And
Mm-hmm.
they assigned me, I remember it was number 10 training cadre, and I trained new troops at Fort Meade from January until I think it was sometime in April of 1942.
January to April. Let me ask you a couple of questions before we go there, okay? How did you find out first about the Carolina maneuvers? How do you remember hearing about that you were going to go do that?
You don't hear about things in the Army.
Okay.
They tell you.
Okay.
They just tell you, well, we knew maybe a couple of days beforehand that we were going to Carolina for the maneuvers.
And that was the whole division?
The whole division went there, yes.
And do you remember where you were in Carolina?
Dahlgren.
Can you spell that?
I think it was Dahlgren, Dalgrin. I believe that's the way they spelled it.
And what did the Carolina maneuvers consist of? Who all took part in this?
Oh, we had regular war maneuvers there against other divisions, you know. I think maybe you've seen I think we were wearing red armbands, you know, and another division would be wearing green. And it's just like you're fighting one another. But you never come in contact with anybody. I mean, but you maneuvered one regiment against another, you know. That's all. Just like you would in combat.
Just like you would in combat. Yeah. Where do you stay? What are you living in when you're out there?
In pup tents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most of the time you're living in a slit trench. That's all, yeah. If we had a couple of days off, when we weren't maneuvering, we had our pup tents that we slept in, yeah.
Now, when you're doing the maneuvers, are you firing any weapons in any way, shape, or form? Do you fire weapons?
No.
Describe what you do. What would be something that you would do?
It's hard to describe what you're doing in combat like that. It really is hard to describe what you're doing. You're running from one place to another and making out you're firing at somebody. You know, you don't fire bullets, not on maneuvers. You're not out to kill you.
You have a goal you have an objective.
Yes, you have an objective to take, and you either take it or they do, or you don't. That's it. Yeah.
Do you remember how many other divisions took part in the Carolina maneuvers?
Oh, I don't know exactly. No, but I'm pretty sure at the time the 4th Division was down there. But no, I don't remember how many. No, but there were a lot of troops there. I knew that, and a lot of artillery and tanks too. And at that time, I don't remember seeing any Sherman tanks at all. I don't think there was a smaller tank that they had then, and it was painted black. The Sherman tank was olive drab. You know, these tanks were smaller, and they were black. And I remember that they were with us over in England too.
The smaller tanks. Yeah.
But no, it's hard to describe what you do on maneuvers like that. You know,
Now you said you were on your way back from the Carolina maneuvers in December of '41, and do you remember how long the maneuvers lasted?
Yeah, about 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
About 6 weeks.
And was most of that living in a pup tent, living outside?
Yeah.
And how did you get down to the Carolina maneuvers?
By truck. They trucked us down there.
What does that feel like, riding in a truck?
It's not comfortable. You know, it's not like riding in a bus, you know, but it's better than walking.
It's better than walking, huh?
Better than walking, yes.
Is it a covered
yes.
truck?
Yeah.
Does everybody go down together like a caravan?
It had seats on each side, you know.
Seats on each
And
side?
I think maybe they may have 15 or 20 men in a truck. Somewhere around that, yeah.
Bill, at this time, is this the group that's going to wind up going to England and then on into France, the same group you're training
Yeah.
with?
All these fellas.
All these fellas.
All these fellas. I was with them from the time that I went into the service until we went into over in France. They were with us in England. Every once in a while, some people would leave, and you get replacements for them, you know. But most of the men that I went into combat with, I had been with them for a couple of years.
When they were, do you remember like your company commander? Who was your original company commander of C Company?
My original company commander his name was John Shettle. Don't ask me how to spell it. Shettle,
okay.
I think it was John Shettle. And he was with us for maybe 5 or 6 months. And then Captain Gill came. He became our company commander. And Captain Gill was my company commander until we went into combat. No, he left the company. He was promoted to major, and he left the company, went to battalion.
Mm-hmm.
And Captain Posca, Lieutenant Posca, became our company commander, and he was later promoted to captain. Yeah.
You know, by the time of the Carolina maneuvers, are you a sergeant? Are you then promoted to sergeant? At that?
I was a buck sergeant. Yes.
Buck sergeant then. Mm-hmm. And what were you responsible for again?
I was a platoon sergeant.
Platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Platoon sergeant, responsible probably for morale in the platoon.
Mm-hmm.
And to carry out orders from the platoon leader.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his duties. Yeah.
How many men are in a platoon?
Let me see. I think there were 33.
Okay.
33 men. Yeah, there were three squads, and then you had each platoon had a platoon guide, and yeah, there were about 33 men in a platoon. Yeah.
And in addition to the men who were the riflemen in the platoon,
yeah,
did they have a light machine gun in that platoon as well? Mm-mm.
No, there was the 4th platoon had the light machine guns, 2 light machine guns, and 3 mortars, 60 millimeter mortars. Yes.
Within the company.
Yes, within the company.
How many platoons make up a company again, Bill?
4.
4 platoons make up a company.
Yeah. There were 3 rifle platoons and the weapons platoon. Yes. Yeah.
Good. And okay, and so you were doing that. You came back. You learned about Pearl Harbor, and you got married a short time later. But at that point, the 175th was off. They were doing guard duty on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all up and down the East Coast.
Now, does that include the whole 29th Division?
Yeah,
Everybody was.
Everybody. Yeah.
So, what was I understand. Can you explain why they were doing guard duty?
Different ports around Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing guard duty over in Washington, Norfolk, every place up and down the coast that needed guarding. You know, where saboteurs might get into and do some damage. Yeah.
By the way, when you were drafted in 1941, was your draft a 1-year commitment?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it wound up being 4 years, 4 months, and 19 days.
Now, who at the time is the commanding general of the 29th Infantry Division in 1941?
General Record.
Okay.
Record was the commanding general, and the brigadier general was Amos W.W. Woodcock, and he was a teacher. I think he was a president. Woodcock was the president of St. John's College in Annapolis, and at that time, St. John's College was a military school, and so he was a brigadier. He was our second in command. General Woodcock and General Record. Yeah.
Now, while they were on guard duty, you wound up being training troops back up at Fort Meade?
Yeah.
Now, was Fort Meade called Fort Meade then, or was it called Camp Meade? When did it become Fort Meade? Do you know?
After during World War I, it was Camp Meade.
Okay.
I don't know when it was made a fort, but while I was there, it was always Fort Meade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Meade, yes.
So you're at Fort Meade, and you're back, and you're working there, training troops. And what kind of training are you doing on the troops? Tell me what you did. January.
Basic infantry training.
Mm-hmm.
There again, what I went through, a lot of close order drill.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of digging trenches. That's and firing on the firing range.
At this point in 1942, you guys must be thinking you're going to get assigned somewhere, right? I mean, you're thinking you're going to have to go to war at some spot. We've already declared war.
Well, we knew, and after Pearl Harbor Day, we knew that we were going to get in a war sooner or later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, we were at war, but in combat, we had no idea where we were going to be in combat. We didn't know if we were going to the Pacific or Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was decided that we were going into combat, we didn't know where. They just told us again, you're going up to, Fort Dix in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed there for a couple of weeks, and then we went to New York City and got on a boat, the Queen Elizabeth. And on October the 5th, 1942, we were on our way to England.
Before you left the United States, you trained troops yourself from January to April. What happened in April and May, between April and October of 42?
When we finished the basic training in April of 1942 in Number 10 Training Company, we marched from Fort Meade to A.P. Hill, Virginia. The whole regiment, the whole division was at A.P. Hill then.
You marched down to A.P. Hill.
We marched 90 miles. It was from Fort Meade to A.P. Hill. And it took, we marched about 9 or 10 miles a day. It wasn't gruesome.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Now, describe what you're wearing when you're marching. What do you have in this march?
In the summertime, we had our chinos on the summer uniforms. And it was hot walking down 301, and you're walking, and like I said, we'd walk 10 miles a day, and then pitch your pup tent someplace, and for overnight, and the next day you start off again.
When you march, are you actually marching or are you walking along the side of the street?
Route step.
A route step.
Route step, yeah. Just not marching, just single file, and maybe you had 3 or 4 paces in between each man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was designed just toughen you guys up, I guess, right? To march 90 miles.
Oh yeah.
They wanted you tough.
Yeah, but it didn't hurt anyone.
No.
I mean, a man can walk 10 miles a day.
Sure.
If you don't rush him, and there's no problem.
Did you have to have a heavy backpacks on?
Yes.
As well?
Yes, we did.
What?
Just a light pack.
A light pack?
Just a light pack. We were carrying a raincoat and your mess gear, that's all.
Mm-hmm. You allowed to drink water from your canteen during the war?
Water in your canteen, of course. And you're carrying your rifle, too, and ammunition.
Do you remember at this point, do you have the logo of the 29th Division on your helmets? Do you remember?
At that time.
Did they have that?
No.
No?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Not at that time. No, we did not have the 29th Division emblem on our helmet at that time. I don't remember exactly when we put that on there, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me like it may have been after we were over in England.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly when we put that on there.
But everybody's clear, you're the 29ers, you're 29th Infantry
Yes.
Division,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Now, so during that, and when was that march to A.P. Hill again?
That was in April of 1942. Yeah.
And then how long was, what happened at A.P. Hill?
There, we went down there to maneuver. We had that on maneuvers there at A.P. Hill. Then, infantry training is kind of hard to describe. It's you're running from one place to another. And at AP Hill, we didn't do any close order drill or anything like that. It was all out field training, at maneuvering against one another, you know, learning how to maneuver from one field to another.
Mm-hmm.
And
Let me ask you some questions. You're living in a pup tent? Is that what you do?
no, at AP Hill we lived in, how do you pronounce that word, pyramidal tents.
Oh, perimeter tents. Yep.
And each tent would hold maybe a squad of men. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically would hold a squad, yes.
Is that about 10 men, 10, 12 men?
About 10 men, yeah.
And is it hot inside a perimeter?
Not really.
Tent? Yeah.
No, maybe if the sun was beating down on you right hard, it would be, yes. But no, it wasn't very hot.
How about when they feed you? Where's the KP? Where's that located?
Somewhere within the company area.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere within the company area would
Yeah.
be the mess tent.
It's a mess tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go in and eat in the mess tent, huh? How do you get up in the morning?
Bugle call.
Bugle call.
Of course.
That's how they do it, huh?
Right. Yeah, at Fort Meade, I remember that they had a loudspeaker there. It wasn't just a bugle; they were blowing into a loudspeaker. That speaker wasn't too far from my barracks, and that sound would knock you out of bed in the morning. Yeah, but reveille, they blow reveille, you know, and that's when you would get up. You know.
Now, when you're after AP Hill, what happened next before you wound up heading up to Fort
from
Dix?
AP Hill, we went to the 2nd Carolina Maneuvers. Went back to Carolina again to maneuver once again, just like we did before.
Okay.
And
Same kind of existence, same kind of living in pup tents.
Living in pup tents and slit trenches. And that was for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And then we were trucked to Camp Landing, Florida.
What happened there?
Now, Camp Landing, Florida, while we were there, was a rest area for us. And I remember we had to go swimming for at least a half hour every day in a big lake down there. And that's about all we did at Camp Landing. I guess we stayed at Landing for maybe 2 months.
Did you stay
there? From there, we moved to Fort Dix.
Then to Fort Dix. Now, you were trucked to Camp Landing?
Yes, from Carolina to Camp Landing, we went by truck.
So you're in the back of these trucks, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a comfortable ride, but it gets you there.
It's just a hard wooden bench that you're sitting on. You had enough room for yourself. Your 2 people were right up against you, you know, and no, you didn't have much room to maneuver.
What do you guys do when you're sitting in the back of a truck?
Smoke cigarettes and I don't know, just shoot the breeze.
Just shoot the breeze. That's all you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're a platoon sergeant at this time, right? So do you have to have a certain leadership? You're the guy in charge of your enlisted guys, right?
Yes, yeah, I had charge of a couple of trucks that were on our way down there, but it didn't. I didn't have to do anything different than what I had been doing. We, I don't remember how long. I don't think it took more than a day to go by truck down to Camp Landing from Carolina to Blanding. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were there the same day. You know. Yeah. I used to have the truck route, and I gave it to someone else, and I just transferred it from my album into his. I gave it to things. I gave things like that away for people to look at, you know.
Yeah.
And you never get them back again.
No, you got to watch that. Well, that's good. You had that. So you had a truck route all the way down there, and you were at Camp Landing, and you stayed there for at least a couple of months. And I'm sorry, what did you stay in Camp Landing again?
At Camp Landing, we stayed in barracks there.
In barracks.
In barracks. They had wooden barracks that we lived in there, and like I said, we didn't have anything to do. It was like it was a rest period for us, and But we did have to go swimming every
He made
day.
you swim. Did you do any training? Did you just take it
Nothing.
easy?
Nothing.
You just relaxed?
Not like landing, no. We did not do
Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they sent you to Camp Landing for 2 months? Looking back on it, do you know?
I think mostly it was to get to rebuild the company, get new clothes for the troops or whatever they needed, you know, bring the everything up to what it was supposed to be, you know.
So this is the whole division that's at
The
Camp
whole-
Landing.
yes, Yeah.
So you're there for a couple of months, and then they truck you up to
No, we rode by train
train?
from Blanding up to Fort Dix.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does that just happen one day? You're told the next day you're going to get ready
That's
to
right.
go?
You have to pack up, we're leaving.
Uh-huh. And then you took a train to Fort Dix, did you say?
Mhm.
And about what time of year was that? Do you remember?
That was in October, September, late September. Yeah,
And then at what point do you go to Fort Dix?
yeah. And we stayed there. There we were issued new clothing.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I tried to say about Blanding. We were issued new equipment and things down there, you know. And up at Fort Dix, we were issued new clothing. And they were stinking shirts and trousers were really, they were impregnated with some chemical that was supposed to protect us from a chemical attack.
Uh-huh.
And they sure did stink, the clothes did. And they made them heavy, you know. But that was all right. We got used to it pretty soon, you know.
Okay.
And we only stayed there at Fort Dix for 2 weeks.
Okay.
I hope I'm saying that right, Fort Dix. I'm pretty sure it was Fort Dix that we went to. There was another camp.
The only thing I'm thinking of, I know there was a Camp Kilmer.
Kilmer was up there too.
Do you remember if you went to Camp Kilmer? It's okay. We can
You
come
know,
back to it.
I don't. It was either Kilmer or Dix.
You know what we can do after we finish this first hour? We can check your. I think you have a personal history that you've written. You might want to check that.
Yeah.
To check off on your dates. Oh, I was going to say. So you wound up going up from the camp or from Fort Dix, and then you went you
New York
debarked,
City.
right? To New York City.
Well, to New
You
York
embarked.
City, and we boarded the Queen Elizabeth, and that was on the 3rd of October.
So you embarked on the Queen Elizabeth on October 3rd.
We got on the boat on October the 3rd. The boat didn't pull out until October the 5th.
Oh my God.
We just stayed on the boat. And as soon as I got on that boat, they made me an MP.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because there was an MP battalion on the boat already. And I remember some captain, an MP captain, he said to me, I better not catch you wearing that MP brassiere. I had to put one on. And somebody shut him up right away. Said he's got every right to wear it. And I did. Why, I don't know. But I could go any place on that ship that I wanted to go. And I did. I went all over the Queen Elizabeth, every place. Yeah.
And that was your responsibility as an MP.
Just
You were
to walk around.
walking around.
Walk around.
Now, do you remember? Was it the whole division that went on the Queen Elizabeth?
No. It was 107. There were 15,000 troops on that boat when we went over. 15,000, and the 175th Infantry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the 115th was on there too, but one of the regiments went over before us on the Queen Mary.
Do you remember what other divisions were on the QE, the Queen Elizabeth at that time?
No,
Okay.
no. I'm sure they're all 29th Division troops on there. That's all.
How about? By the way, Bill, tell us how many people are in a division? Are in a how many?
Well, in a triangular division.
Triangular
at that time,
division.
There were 15,000 people.
15,000.
Yeah.
Now the so at about in the infantry and the 175th would have been about 5,000 total troops, right? 5,000. Now, when you went to over on the Queen Elizabeth, that would have been October 42.
October the 5th, 1942 is when we pulled out of New York Harbor at night.
At night.
And I did not see the Statue of Liberty. The light was out in it. And
You had hoped to.
as a matter of fact, I didn't see it coming back either.
Oh.
Because we went right past it and it was so foggy you couldn't see anything.
Bet you the guys look forward to seeing it again, right?
Yeah, we would. I wanted to see it, but we didn't.
When you went to, when you're on the Queen Elizabeth, what are your living quarters like?
The best part of that ship, I had a stateroom on A deck, right off the promenade deck. Me and 33 other men in that room.
They have you,
My whole platoon.
the whole platoon.
My whole platoon.
These are the guys you're going to be with the whole
Right,
time,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, sure. But we were all together. The 175th Infantry got on the boat on the Queen Elizabeth. Everybody, at the same time.
Now, when you're on the, what do they have the beds? Do they have them?
Well, the beds were too high, one and another one on top. Just bunks like that.
Just bunks.
All the way around, all around the room. Yeah.
How do they feed you when you're going across like
How
that?
they feed us?
Yes.
Our mess hall was on our deck. That was way down the bottom of that boat, way down. So, and that's where we had to go for our mess. I remember, and the mess wasn't too good. Powdered eggs and things like that, You didn't go hungry, that's for sure, but sometimes you didn't enjoy what you were eating. But yeah, our mess hall, and but it was a little bit different with the officers. In my scrapbook, I have a menu from the officers' mess. Like I said, I had the run of that ship when I had that MP president, and I ate my meals with after the engineer officers were finished eating, I went into their mess and had my meal there.